Hey everybody, Cliff Ravenscraft here, coming to you on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I decided to take, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, about 12 minutes after 4, and some free time in my day. And I figured I'd go out and get a little bit more physical activity in. I'm super stoked about where I am in my fitness journey right now, and I'm eager to continue to consistently take that to the next level. Couple different things. Well, I'll just start on the fitness thing. So I just shared in a recent podcast episode, it was titled Confession. Basically, what happens if you don't achieve your goal? And in that episode, I shared that, my goal, that I knew exactly what it would take to get down to below 180 pounds, and I was going to do that based upon these new distinctions that I was making. I recorded this podcast episode and I shared that I had these new distinctions, new things that I knew that would allow me to hit that goal and keep me from bouncing up to this 200 pound mark and hovering at 195. And I recorded that podcast episode, and I think I lost 7.5 pounds in 1 week after that. Supposedly some of the hardest pounds you could ever lose. All that baloney, if you believe it, then it's true for you, I guess. But I chose not to believe it, and I lost 7.5 pounds in 1 week after making those distinctions and say, hey, let's go for it. And then in that episode about confessions, I shared why I didn't hit my goal, why I didn't get down to under 180 pounds. And that, in fact, when I recorded that episode, I was hovering right around somewhere between 191 to 195, just over and over again for week after week after week. And I'm like, I know why this is, and I shared the reason why. So if you want to know more about all of that, go look for the Cliff Ravenscraft Show in your favorite podcast directory. And if you don't have a favorite podcast directory, I encourage you to go find a podcast directory, find a podcast app, and look for one of my most recent episodes of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And look for the episode that has the title Confession in it. And you can hear all about that. So I'm not going to rehash that whole episode here. But just to say that after doing some self-reflection, discovering, why was I doing this? What was happening? I'm happy to tell you that that was a week and a half ago. No, it was 2 weeks ago. I was 195. And this morning I weighed in at 187. So I am consistently dropping down, and I feel awesome about that. And I am currently down a total of 85 pounds from when I was my heaviest. So 85 total pounds down, which is incredible. And I am at the lowest weight I've been since probably I was in my early 20s, maybe even younger. I'm thinking I need to go get my doctor's records just so I can go in and retroactively go in and punch in all of my weight check-ins from over the years of seeing the doctor. It would be nice to have those data points into my graphs of my chart for weight. But anyway, I weigh less than I have for more than 20 years for sure, and I'm 45 years old now. So it's awesome. And the cool thing, anything else that's been on my mind, what another thing's been on my mind is that in the early days of my podcasting, I used to do a lot of what are called walk casts. And that's where I would go out for very, very long walks. And for about an hour of each of those walks, I would record an audio podcast with a little digital recorder in my hand. And I did hundreds of episodes of that. I have a show that I did for years called Pursuing a Balanced Life. And gosh, that show started in 2006. And I did that all the way up until I had like 670 episodes or 640 episodes, something like that. And the other day, I actually went back and was listening to some of the archives of my audio journal, if you will, of me just randomly sharing things off the top of my head through that podcast. And it was kind of fun to hear myself from 2007, which was specifically where I was listening to archived messages from. In 2007, by the way, I'd already been podcasting for well over a year. And it was right around January to March where I started to speak publicly about this dream of one day living a life outside of being an insurance agent. And it's funny because I recorded a conversation with a friend of mine for the Cliff Ravenscraft show just yesterday. It won't go into the podcast feed for another 2 weeks, but it's titled It's Friday. And it's the story that I told just a couple days ago on Facebook in an update. I went into the gym early in the morning, and the guy at the desk says, "How you doing today?" And I said, "I'm doing awesome. How are you?" And he looks at me and he goes, "It's Friday." Which basically means like he's doing the interpretation. Well, I'm doing good because it's Friday. The weekend is here. With the assumption being that this guy lives for the weekend. He trades 5 full days of his week in dread, in unhappiness, in an unfulfilled life, so that he can live fully alive on Friday and Saturday and maybe half the day on Sunday. Because I say half the day on Sunday because, well, by Sunday evening it's like, tomorrow's Monday. So it got me to thinking, it's been a while since I've had that mindset. And it was funny because I titled this episode, It's Friday, which is me kind of looking at that mindset from an outside perspective, like meaning that I'm so far removed from that mindset these days that it's like, wow, I don't even, half the time, I don't even know what day of the week it is. I don't make distinctions between it's Saturday and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, except for the weekends I do try to avoid work just to make sure that I definitely, but no, that's not true, because the thing is that even on Sunday or Monday and Tuesday, half the time I don't do very much work on those days. So I don't know. I'm just on the other side of that. It's like, I never think of a Monday and say, oh my gosh, I'm dreading Monday. In fact, today's Sunday, and it's almost like it's the other way around. It's like, I feel like almost like I'm not supposed to work today because it's Sunday. That it might be quote unquote frowned upon to work today on Sunday. So in a way, I'm almost excited. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get up and get back from the gym. And after I get showered, I know exactly what I want to do tomorrow for my work. And I can't wait to do that. That is like, I can't wait for Mondays. I look forward to Mondays. I look forward to Tuesdays. I look forward to every day of the week. I look forward to every day I get out of bed. And so I named the episode It's Friday. And the funny thing is as I was thinking about these old episodes, and I'm like, I wonder what it would be like for me to go back, because in this interview, this episode that is just recently published, I said, I remember I used to have that attitude. I used to have those feelings. And after we finished recording, I had mentioned that I have these old recordings. It would be neat for me to go back and see if I can find episodes where I'm recording and talking about it's like all of this stuff. And so oddly enough, I went into my Dropbox folder where I have all the original recordings of Pursuing a Balanced Life, and I went back to 2007, and funny enough, I found a podcast episode titled It's Friday, but from a completely different human being. It was like me in 2007 titled It's Friday. And the episode starts, I listen, so I click play and I listen to it, and it's me saying, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so excited. It's Friday, and this day couldn't have got here it's perfect timing. I so need this weekend. It has been one horrendous week. One thing after another, blah, da, da, blah, da, blah. I mean, it's just like me just unloading about how much pressure and stress and everything I'd been under. And it's like, man, I'm so glad I can finally believe it's the weekend. It's Friday. It couldn't have got here soon enough. It's like, wow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was me. That was me. And I found so I started listening to a couple more episodes because I was hearing myself talking about the fact that I needed to create a quote unquote life plan. I'm going to have to wait for this car to back out. And this car is waiting for this van to pass. So that van has passed. This car will now back out. And I can now go. See? Attention. But anyway, so it's like I was talking about in those episodes the fact that, hey, I hear all these people, and I was referring to this guy named Michael Hyatt at the time, which it's so funny because today Michael Hyatt is a very close personal friend of mine, but here I was just a follower of Michael Hyatt. I had just heard about him through Dan Miller's podcast, and Dan Miller was talking about this life plan stuff, and I had never even contemplated this idea of creating a life plan. I had heard about people building or creating business plans. If you're gonna embark upon creating a business, you should probably have a plan, and so that it gives you it's like, what's the purpose of this business? What is the function? How will it generate money? How will it, what does this business want to do in the world? That kind of stuff. And it was the first time in 2007, it was the first time I heard of a life plan. It's like, well, if you would actually take the time to plan a business, why not plan a life? What is the purpose of this life that you're living? How will you as a human, how will you generate income? What kind of goals do you have financially? And all this other stuff. It's like, wow, I should probably get around to creating one of those. And it was in this episode titled It's Friday that I'm actually talking about the fact that I need to do this. I keep saying I'm going to do this, but man, I didn't get to do it because it was such a radically crazy busy week this week. So I kept listening. So I finished that episode and I listened to another episode, and it was when it's like, hey everybody, it's Monday. Back at work. That's like, woe is me. It's like just another one of those dreaded Mondays. And you could just hear it in my voice. And I'm like, hey, I never got around to getting that life plan stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to balance all of this stuff. Been working around the clock, trying to get this podcasting stuff done and trying to do this other stuff and got all these other things going on. And I kept putting off this life plan. And I must have listened to 5 episodes of Pursuing a Balanced Life, and all the way through those episodes I had still never gotten around to the life plan. But here's what I want to tell you. When I started to get serious, by the way, it is not actually the creation of a life plan that I think is important. It's like, well, Cliff, what template did you use, and how did you go about creating that? But that, let me just tell you, those are nice, and you can find that, so many people have those as a resource and stuff like that. But let me tell you where the real value is. The real value is not so much the plan. The real value is not so much the plan that you use or the template that you use. The real value is that you actually take time to think about your life. That you take time to say, what's important to me? The important thing is that you take time to put yourself first, to put yourself before your career, put yourself before the work that you do, put yourself before, dare I say, relationships. Put yourself first. Actually love yourself enough to put yourself first. And I think that is a real struggle for a lot of people who grow up the way that I did. And so I grew up thinking that. So if I make a commitment to work, then by golly, I should work as hard as I can. I should put all of my effort and serve those people well, because by golly, that's how you earn that money. And then when you're not working, you should definitely put your wife first. You should put your kids first. If you got parents, you should you obey and respect your parents. You should put them first. If you got friends, you should serve them first. Everybody is first, and you're last. That's the way I grew up. That was the mindset that I had when I grew up. And I got to tell you, it was killing me. It was killing me. And not to mention the fact that, in ministry, you put the people that you minister to first as well. And in a way, my podcasting audience I was putting them first. It's just like I was putting me last. And the thing is that there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many days in a week. And when it all comes down to it, when you consider your work, your ministry, your wife, your kids, your friends, your family, and all, when it comes down to it, somebody isn't going to get the time and attention that they deserve. Somebody isn't going to get all of you. And if you put yourself last, you're always going to be the one who never gets the attention, who never gets the love from you personally. And so what radically changed for me in this idea of creating a life plan and me asking myself, what do I want? What does Cliff Ravenscraft want for himself out of life? And I gotta tell you, maybe, thinking back upon this, maybe some of the reason why I put it off for weeks without actually creating that life plan is because there's a part of me that said, isn't this kind of a selfish thing to do? For me to plan out and dream up a life where I don't have to work so hard, dream up a life where I have lots of extra money. Life is more important than money, right? Money can't buy you happiness, and just so many things I was conditioned and taught to believe that caused me to put all of this stuff off. And when I finally did get around to creating a life plan, and it wasn't actually the creation of the life plan, but when I finally got around to asking myself, what do I want out of life? What do I want out of life? It was only then that I started to ask myself this question: what would it take for me to be able to live a life like that? And as soon as I started asking myself that question, my life radically changed. I don't know that I actually got around to officially creating the life plan. Here's the deal. I am now more than 10 years into my business. I started my business full-time, self-employed, officially, legally registered my business with a federal ID number and all that stuff, January 1st, 2008. So more than a decade ago. And to this day, I still have not created a written business plan. Now I have, if I was forced to, I could put a business plan down on a piece of paper or in a Google Doc or whatever. Again, what I'm telling you is those templates aren't important. The question is asking yourself the question, number one, what do I want? And then number two, what would it take to get it? It's really, life is that simple. And I know that sounds crazy if you have not lived that truth, but it really is that simple. What do I want? Now, what would it take to get it? And here I'm gonna say something that if for me to say it's that simple, if that kind of rubs you the wrong way and says, "Ooh, I don't know if I believe that, Cliff," that's cool. I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just sharing with you what I believe. But here's the deal. Whatever it is that you want in life, when you start asking yourself, well, what would it take to get it? Here's the mind-blowing thing. Everything you need to achieve it is available to you. I'll let that one soak in for just a minute. Whatever it is that you want out of life, once you start asking yourself the question, what would it take for me to achieve that? You'll find that the answer is that everything you need to achieve it is available to you. You know, part of me wants to tell you, maybe soften the blow a little bit and tell you that everything will eventually become available to you. But quite frankly, it's just not the case. That's for people who are a little bit more lazy and don't want to go through the pain of like immediate growth. Because by the way, growth is painful. If anybody hasn't told you that. So by the way, if you decide there's something you want in life and you ask yourself, well, okay, for me to achieve this in life, what would I have to do? Some of the things that you will have to do are, I don't know if this will sound strange to you, but maybe different than what you've been doing. Yeah, to get a different result in life, to actually think that you might have to do something, take different actions to get different results. I don't know if that's mind-blowing for you, but the reality is that if you, whatever it is that you want, you may actually have to change. And change is not easy. Change can be painful. Growth can be painful. And there are risks that sometimes are involved. And there is discomfort. I believe for any time for us to truly grow, we have to step out of the comfort zone. And but boy, I will tell you, it was somewhere after those episodes in 2007 where I just got so sick and tired of living for the weekends, wishing away 5 days, more than 70% of my life completely wasted for years. More than 70% of my life completely wasted for years, wishing away. I can't wait until the weekend. Can't wait. And the reality is that it was actually much worse than that. It was more than 70% of my life, because the reality is there were some Fridays I wasn't so excited about Friday because I knew that I had to work all weekend. There were times when I had to work all weekend, many weekends in a row. And so sometimes I didn't get really excited. I didn't come fully alive until it's like, oh my gosh, only 2 more weeks before I go on vacation. You know, and then all of a sudden you find out that you're wishing away 50 weeks of your year for 2 weeks of living on vacation. I don't know about you guys, but I had a couple of those years as well. But when I started to ask myself, what do I want out of life? Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I now have stated what my dreams are. I know how, and of course I use language like, I know this is probably not possible. By the way, one of those dreams that I had was, oh crud, it says I'm recording, I'm no longer live. What is going on here with my phone? Anyway, I'm going to continue on. Maybe if this gets uploaded later, perhaps maybe what I'm saying now will actually make it up to Facebook. That's frustrating. It says low network connection. I'm in the middle of like downtown Hebron, which is kind of funny. And it says I'm recording. I'm not live right now. So I've lost my live audience and now I'm distracted. Anyway, all of that to just say this. Start asking yourself this question. What do I want out of life? What are my dreams? And then write them down. And then start asking yourself, what can I do today? What's one action I can take today? I don't care how small it is. Maybe that action is just to call a friend and tell them what I want, so that I just know that somebody else knows that this is what I want. And who knows, maybe that person might be able to give me some kind of insight of another action I can take. So anyway, so number 1, ask yourself, what do I want? Write it down. Tell some other people about it. Take some action. And step by step, continually ask, what would it take for this to become true in my life? For me to make this a reality? And you may initially start saying this probably wouldn't happen for another 10 to 20 years. But you'll be shocked to learn that once you ask yourself what you want, you get clear about what your outcome is, you make a commitment that I do want this and I'm willing to do what it takes. Now, what does it take? And then start taking some actions. And for me, I started saying things like, I wish I could do this podcast stuff for a living. What would life be like if I could do this stuff for a living instead of my career in insurance? And I started to say, okay, well, let's say, what would it take for me to be able to achieve that within the next 5 to 10 years? And I started to take note of those things that it would take, and I started taking those actions, and guess what? A year later, I was full-time self-employed. Just saying. All right, long enough. This episode's got to end. The only thing is, though, is I'm wondering if I should wait till it says I'm live again. It was just live again for a second ago. But I'm going to tell it to upload this as soon as it is finished. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Hopefully Facebook will upload all this and you get all of it for the replay. If not, I had fun talking. Guys, hope you have a blessed day. If you get to see this part and you have a dream inside of you, you need help with that mindset, how to make all this stuff happen, I've got a conference where I'm going to be teaching all the things I've learned over the years that, boy, will shortcut your path to success and achieving your dreams. And it's not just me, but I've invited 9 other speakers who are going to share what they've learned along their journey as well. And it's going to be incredible. You can learn more at freethedream.live, freethedream.live. Until next time, my friends, I encourage you to take everything in your life to the next level and to go register at freethedream.live for your ticket to the Free the Dream conference. And I'll see you in September. Bye.